According to the Huffington Post, social media influencers such as trad wives or women that are promoting clean eating or clean makeup, they are pushing women down a far right rabbit hole, which sounds like satire, sounds like a Babylon Bee post, but this is actually for real. This is a serious post from a very unserious person, as many leftists we've seen over the past several years are not serious individuals. But let's go ahead and get right into the article from the Huffington Post. Experts say these seemingly innocent social media trends could sway you to the far right. If you've seen videos on clean eating and homesteading recently, researchers have a warning. Yep, they've got a dire warning for you here. So let's get into this article. With President Trump's approval rating at 43% since he took office this year and fears looming of a trade war, it's easy to wonder how we got here. Lots of factors converge to get Trump elected, and we can't ignore the influence social media can have in swaying voters towards the right. Online content creator Jess Britvick has posted multiple videos about the far right rabbit holes that target women on social media. Just a few that she cites are clean eating, clean girl makeup, girl dinner, and homesteading. In her video, she said that these trends can lead to alt-right pipeline because while these things aren't inherently conservative or, dare I say, fascist, so there it is, didn't take long to get to that, sometimes they can be a starting point to a very slippery slope. So apparently, according to this Betvic lady, if you are into homesteading or being a trad wife, you are just one short step away from becoming a fascist. Very interesting. Let's see what other pearls of wisdom this Betvic lady has to share with us. In Betvic's videos, she has received upwards of 1 million views on both TikTok. Okay, so it's being pushed by the Communist Chinese in a attempt, obviously, to erode American society, as they often do. And on Instagram, Betvic told Huffington Post that she was inspired to make the video after reflecting on how she was told as a millennial woman that over and over again she was told that Gen Z was going to make the country more progressive when they were able to vote. And then it turns out in the past election, Gen Z men were one of the big factors in getting Trump elected. And that kind of got me started to think of where did the shift come from. So yeah, this isn't going to be a big surprise to anybody that Gen Z men have shifted to be more conservative. There are basically two schools of thought here, two groups that young men can choose from. They've got the group of on the left that's telling them that, oh, masculinity is toxic, you're part of the problem, just sit down and let other people, let minorities, let women take the lead. And then there's the other school of thought, the people more on the right side. They're telling men that you can do anything you want. You're a very important part of society, and we need you to be your best and improve yourself so that you can make the country a better place. And if you really work at it and strive, you have a chance to have basically everything that you want in life. And it's no surprise that young men are making the choices that they're making. And another thing in this article, it seems to be they're blaming the people that are shifting to the right and why Trump won the election because of right-wing, or not even right-wing influencers. They're just trad wives or, people into homesteading, gardening, that kind of stuff. They're going to blame them for Trump winning, but I think it could be even more blame put on the left and the leftist social media influencers. You've seen how deranged and crazy they all are, and just the psychopathy that you see on the left, them talking about committing violence on people and acts of basically terrorism and trying to call people to commit those kinds of things. And most of the country is not on board with that kind of stuff. So it's going to be the people on TikTok, all these, drag queens and all of that, talking about trying to talk to their kids on and influence their kids on TikTok. That's going to have more of an effect, I think, than, anything that a trad wife's going to be talking about. Let's go ahead and skip down a little further into the article, and they go on to say, during the pandemic, people were hungrier than ever for agency and the information they were consuming and relying on for their safety and their family's safety, but weren't actually able to search for content without them leading down to pathways, and some people may say rabbit holes. So here's an idea for you. Maybe people started going down these different pathways and getting into alternative media, listening to podcasts and watching different videos on YouTube, is because they were tired of seeing the press and the Biden administration, people in government, continuously lying to them every day about virtually everything. So, if there's any onus on anybody, it's the people that have been lying to the American people for actually decades at this point. How many people have become based over the past couple years? And these people now, they've become based. They're probably not going to ever vote for a Democrat again unless the Democrat Party radically changes itself, which they only seem to be getting worse and worse at this point. Skipping down again further into the article, going back to the ancestors' way of living, trad wives, homesteading, and more natural life are more of a social media rabbit holes that often come up via gardening videos, cooking content, and more. While these topics have some admirable qualities, obviously, they too can lead to some of these problematic pipelines. It's an ideological construction of what is natural that uses the idea of nature and beauty to signal what? That you're meant to be desired. I feel like all of us want to be desired. I don't know what this lady is getting at here. This is Tabaldi. I'm guessing this is one of those researchers that is warning us about, how being a trad wife can send you down one of these alt-right or far-right rabbit holes. She goes on to say, it's propaganda. You're supposed to be glowing and look healthy and beautiful, and this is sort of signaling that you're worthy, Tabaldi said. It also feeds into the idea of looking at medicine and healthcare as unnatural. Okay, so who doesn't want to look healthy and beautiful? Literally every man, woman should want to look like that. She goes on to say, going back to the way our ancestors lived is a very privileged and very white idea. Black people are enslaved with enslaved ancestors, and Japanese people whose ancestors were wrongfully imprisoned and forced to do labor in the USA, or Jewish people with ancestors that died in the Holocaust. Nobody should want to return to that. Okay, I don't know who out there wants to return to that. Maybe she should make an argument for something that someone is actually pushing for. I guess maybe the really alt-right people, but nobody that I hear is saying anything like this. But, according to this lady, probably every Republican is a fascist, and probably every Republican would support the Holocaust happening again. Yeah, she's off her rocker, clearly. She's trying to demonize these ideas as white ideas or right-wing ideas. These are just natural human tendencies to want this. Like, who wouldn't want to go from working in this stressful corporate environment where your boss will just replace you the next week? Wouldn't you rather be at home with your family, your kids, and, if you could find a good man that is supportive and loving and provides for your family so that you don't have to go out of the house to make a living, and, who wouldn't want that if they could? Basically, all the research data you can find out there shows that women that are married and have families and attend religious services often are the most happy in society. And the women that, don't have a husband and are childless end up being the most depressed. And, coincidentally, almost all of those women are liberal. And, once you become a family woman and get married, have kids, you naturally become more conservative. And this is not, anything great that the Republicans are doing. It's just The Democrats are that bad at this, and they're making themselves the party that is basically anti-family. And you know, the thing that's going to make people go out and vote for the opposing party the fastest and most consistently is if you make them angry about and you try to take away their ability to raise their kids that they want. So as you push drag queen story hour, as the Democrat Party pushes to have women's sports destroyed basically by having men competing against them, and have MS-13 gang members in the United States and bring them back from El Salvador. We need these gang members back in America again. Of course, like, these family women aren't going to vote for you. The only people that are going to vote for you are the psychopaths and just the people that aren't paying attention and you're able to just lie to and manipulate. These policies that the Democrat Party are definitely not helping women at all. They're not helping anybody. And the idea that the left are these champions of women's rights and whatever is absolute nonsense. It's great marketing because, you see the people with the pink hats out there marching in the streets thinking that they're helping women, but it's definitely the conservatives at this point that seem to be, more in line with helping women, and the left is just lying to them. Like, it doesn't do women any good to be lied to like this. I really don't see what this article accomplishes. It really doesn't seem to help anybody, especially doesn't seem to help women at all. And they're trying to paint these trad wives with a broad brush as, they're pushing these women down a alt-right rabbit hole, which I think is just ridiculous on its face. And, they're not doing women any favors. Women have been lied to enough already. It's a real tragedy. The millennial women that we're seeing that are aging out of the ability to reproduce and they don't have any kids and they've been lied to their entire life. They've been lied to by men, that just want one thing from them, or they've been lied to by other women. There was actually a pretty funny study that came out. I can't remember when it was published, but they did a survey and they were asking these hairdressers, how they cut, different women based on their attractive level, how they cut their hair. And the hairdressers basically, if the woman was close to their level of attractiveness, they would actually cut their hair a lot shorter. And basically they were trying to get them out of their zone of the dating pool and put them in a lower bracket so they don't have to compete with them anymore, which is just hilarious to think of that that's happening. Anybody knows that hairdressers are some of the most crazy girls out there. No offense if you're a hairdresser. I'm sure you're lovely. But, these women have been lied to for so long about that men are trash. They're just, you don't need a husband. You can just pursue your career and, go get the bag, sis, and be a girl boss. And then they're getting to their 30s and they're like, why am I doing this? This makes no sense. I could have a much easier life and have a lot more of a rewarding life if, I have a family. So they basically a lot of times will bail out of their career if they still have time to have a family. Even if you're lucky enough to have someone that cares enough about you to sit down and have that kind of honest, hard conversation with you about what they think would probably give you the most fulfillment in life, it's really hard to overcome what the rest of society has been lying to you about and telling you your entire life. You've got all these media companies, everyone in the news, basically everyone in education and higher education and in the movie industry and TV shows telling you, this one thing. It's really hard to override all of that influence that you've been fed. And a lot of times you'll even lie to yourself about, what will make you happy. But things change and your ideas change. You're not the same person at 20 as you are when you're 30. So you need to make good decisions while you're 20 so that you will have a chance of happiness at 30. And a lot of people are not getting that kind of advice right now. It's a real shame. And the women that, these researchers that I guess were referenced in this article and the person writing this article, I'm not sure what their motivations are. I don't know if they're just they're feeling, a certain way because they've pursued this path on their own and now they're trying to cope with it and push other women to make the same decisions they did, or or maybe they've just become indoctrinated into this woke basic religion of the left, and now they're just trying to be a high priestess in that religion. But that's about all I've got for you on this article for today. If you guys enjoyed it, please give me a like and subscribe. The name of the channel is Appeal to Reason. You can find it on YouTube and on Rumble. And please go ahead and share this video with your friends if you think they would get something out of it. I appreciate your time and attention very much. Thank you.